Every day, millions of Americans rely on public transportation to get to work, to school, and to essential services. But for too many, access to reliable and affordable public transportation is a luxury, not a necessity.
It's pretty.
These are the voices of communities across America, united by a common goal: transit equity. We envision a nation where everyone, regardless of their income, race, or disability, has access to safe, reliable, and affordable public transportation. Together, we can build a national network that connects our communities, strengthens our economy, and creates a more just and equitable future for all. We are the Transit Equity Network. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Wednesday to you all. Happy tax day. Hopefully a lot of y'all did your taxes and it wasn't too stressful. But thank you. And thank you all for joining me today. My name is Bacardi Obama. I'm with the Transit Equity Network, and I thank you for joining me today. What's going on, Chris Jackson? Shout out to you. Wonderful. I'm glad everything works. I was really pushing for everything to work because I'm streaming in multiple places. Shout out to everyone who's watching me on Facebook. Shout out to everyone who's watching me on YouTube, and shout out to everyone who's watching me on LinkedIn. We're going to try with those three places now and see how that works with every video so far, because we will be ramping up some video content over here to the Transit Equity Network. But thank you all for joining me. So we'll get into this. I won't give you too much of take too much of your time. I just wanted to go through this. But yeah, I wanted to do this video because this was a trip I've wanted to do for a while, and I think this is the start of something good. And especially if you've been with the Transit Equity Network for a while and you've seen my face and you've seen the people that are within this network, we really do care about increasing the equity within public transportation, and that's intra-city transit or within cities, as well as intercity transit between cities, which is what I'll be going over today. So this is something I've been looking forward to doing, and especially like with reviewing a lot of these services. So we'll see how this works. So I'll do the welcome. We'll get into why I did this trip, as well as just kind of the ins and outs of the trip. We'll do a Q&A in the open panel. So if you're joining us now, you can go ahead and come on stage and ask questions or just talk about your experiences if you've done this before. And we can just fellowship with that. And I'll also preview some coming attractions. We've got some things queued up. And then we'll close out. And then y'all can go back to getting whatever deal is on tax day, or continue to do your taxes before the end of it. Before everything, follow us on all of our social media networks. Shout out to everyone who's watching us on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, you can search the Transit Equity Network, and we are there. Follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Transit Equity In, and also subscribe to our channel. I've uploaded a lot of videos from our archives so that you can look through them. They go from anything from disability rights to predatory microtransit to all of our previous replays of Transit Equity Day Live. So definitely go and subscribe to all of that, and definitely hit the notification bell so you'll be privy to anything else that I post in the future, which I've got some things coming down the pike. Also, share this with some folks. If you know anyone who's in transit advocacy, or if you know someone who wants to see a lot of our networks expand, definitely share this channel with them. A little bit about me. My name is Bakari Height. I'm the executive director of the Transit Equity Network. I've been with the Transit Equity Network for 4+ years now. I'm also the co-founder of the MARTA Army down in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm a huge train nerd. I'm a huge transit nerd. So a lot of this is definitely just me doing what I've always wanted to do, but now doing it as a job. So it's full circle. If you don't know about the Transit Equity Network, we're a network of groups around the country that is working to increase the equity within public transportation, making sure that the people who need more service and better service get it, and making sure that we're having service everywhere that we need it. But our vision is making sure that there's a world where public transportation is equitable, affordable, reliable, and safe for all. So we want to make sure that this is something that we're making whole everywhere in the country, not just in the big cities, but everywhere. And of course, this is a sustainability reason why we're doing this. You can move a lot more people with a lot less energy and reduce carbon dioxide emissions and greenhouse emissions, excuse me, by moving mass amounts of people. That's the mass transit. So this is why we do this. And I think this is one of the reasons why we can show why this is important to folks. But let's get started. Now, I tease this a little bit with folks. So if you follow me on social media, and especially on my personal accounts, but you can also follow me at Bacardi Obama on all things, I teased it. So you may have known what it was, you may have not known what it was, but it was something I called the Great American Train Trip. Now, a lot of folks have talked about taking the train across the country. I always looked at it as it'd be cool, but I don't know if I'd ever want to do it. And that's just because I value my time too much. And this takes forever. And it also takes a lot of planning, but you'll see with this. But the question of a lot of this is, is taking the train across the country a great way to travel, or is it just a way to travel? And you've got it compared to a lot of other modes. If you want to get across the country, you can of course fly, which is the quickest way. You could drive if you have a car and have the means to get across. You could take the bus, and there's a myriad of bus lines within this country, or you could do what I did and take the train. Now, there are issues with that. Of course, everyone has seen the issues right now at the airport with the long lines at TSA because of the government shutdown, and now with the added icing on the cake of ICE replacing a lot of the TSA agents that weren't getting paid, as well as with a lot of cancellations from a lot of airlines that may or may not survive through a lot of what's going on right now. So, that's a kind of a downer of what you'd have to go through if you flew. And now, of course, if you took buses, a lot of the amenities for buses aren't as great. The ride isn't all as great. And you could be like this scenario where I was in Gary, Indiana, where the conditions were absolutely horrible. And you almost wondered if buses even stopped here. You could drive, like I said, if you have the means to, but with these incredibly high gas prices, it's just a huge hassle. And I've even had friends that have driven across country, and it's taken them days to do that. But you could also take the train, which is an option. Now, it may not be the quickest option, and it may not be the most efficient option, but it's an option nonetheless. So if you see this map, this is a map of the Amtrak system in America. The green lines are a lot of the long distance routes, and the red lines are some of the regional routes that go between certain regions or within certain states. So I'm going to be taking a route through the Sunbelt region, which you see along the bottom part of the map. Now, why am I doing this? Well, because when these tickets went on sale for Amtrak, which is called the USA Rail Pass, they were on sale for $299. Now, you see within this picture, it says $499. Now, that's the price that is usually there. If you go onto the website right now, you'll see $499. But it was on sale. I had time, and it was also incredibly freezing cold in the Northeast. So I wanted to get out. So this was a perfect opportunity for me to do that. So like I said, go to the website. By no means is this any kind of advertisement for them, you go to them and figure all of this out. I'm just talking about my experience. But if you do want to do this pass, the limitation that you really got to think about is if you buy this pass, you will have 180 days to use it from the time you buy it. You also will need to use this within 30 days of your first trip. So really consider that if you want to do this. So where'd I go? So I started in Atlanta. Shout out to everyone that I saw in Atlanta. I started from there because I had some business to do with my nonprofit Martyr Army. Shout out to them. And it was just it worked with my schedule. So I went to New Orleans on the Crescent Line. I hung out with some friends for Mardi Gras. Then I took the train from New Orleans to Houston. I spent the night in Houston. Because there was no really clear destination within that way, I had to fly to Albuquerque, spend the night, and then get on a train to go to the rest of my trip, which was to San Diego. And now that trip was like when it got really hairy. Then I spent a couple of days in San Diego. Then I took the train to San Jose via LA. And then I spent the night there, and then took the train from Emeryville, right outside of the Bay, right in the Bay Area, right outside of Oakland and San Francisco, and then I took it to Portland. So it was a decent trip, but it was a trying trip, and you'll see why. So let's go to the footage. So I'll share my screen because I've got some of this footage queued up. So I'll go ahead and share the screen. So we'll go to the first video. Now, this is a typical Amtrak station. Now, I'll say this first and foremost. Not all of them are created equal. So this is the Peachtree Station in Atlanta. Now, this was kind of a common theme with Atlanta and a lot of these other like really big cities, to where they didn't have really big stations. And you'll kind of see with the next video of the size of the station. So here's me walking up to the front. Now, mind you, it was raining and it was Saturday morning. So this is the station, and here's the inside of it. If this can get it together. Feel free to put your comments in the chat and I'll read them. If this thing is wanting to clear. Come on. Okay, maybe it's not going to play. But so this was the inside of the station. So this is kind of the calm before the storm. And this is because there's only 2 trains that leave out of the station daily. There's one that goes to New Orleans, and there's one that goes to New York City. So the one that goes to New Orleans leaves in the morning around 9-ish, 9:30. And then the one that goes to the one that goes to New York City leaves around 11:30 at night. So those are pretty much when the train leaves. And you can see this is, okay, it was 9. So you can see this is the only train that showed up. For a city of Atlanta size, they deserve a much larger station. So that was kind of the thing that, Atlantans have to really think about, and especially with the number of events that they host, that they really need a much larger station. So this was kind of the boarding area, getting down to it. So the station's raised because it's like right at the end of a bridge over Interstate 85. So we have to go down. So we had to go down steps. Now there is an elevator over here, but they only take 6 people at a time. So that was kind of a, I wish there was a little bit more of accommodations of getting down there. So these were the steps going down. So pretty much what you got to do with, and that was kind of the pain point with this station. Now, all stations are not like this. Some stations, like here in Baltimore, we have stations where you literally could just walk onto the platform, and walk onto the platform and then walk onto the train. And here was the train. And then now we'll play what, if you've never seen the inside of an Amtrak train, now you'll get to see what it looks like. And I'll kind of slow it down a little bit. Let's see if I can slow this down. Oh, I can't. So this is pretty much the inside of an Amtrak train. So you see there's no middle seat. Now that's one of the big things about Amtrak that I don't think they really tell a lot of folks, that there's no middle seat. But that's one of them. And there are a lot of seats on here. So we'll get out of that and we'll go to the next video. This will kind of show what the seating looks like. So you can see with the flooring, there's illuminated lights along there just in case that you lose power, which has rarely happened on a lot of these trains. The only times when you'll lose power is when you get into Washington, D.C. and they have to change the engines from diesel to electric. But if you can see here, this is what the seat looks like. So I'll put it a little bit more. This is the backpack that I usually wear when I go out and when I travel. So if you can see that in comparison to what the floor looks like, you pretty much got a lot of room. You can see here you got a footrest. You have power stations with 120 volts. You've got plenty of seats. This thing right here also points out another footrest that you can put, because a lot of these trains are long distance, so you'll be on these trains for a while. Keep going. So you can see here they have really wide windows. There's also, I think I'll get more into the video of this tray table that folds down. If you hit this button right here, it reclines. So, and that's another big thing about this, because I've heard complaints from a lot of people on flights saying that they prefer to not have reclining seats because you're just kind of restricting the people that sit behind you. When you recline these seats, you still have a lot of room. So this was a seat. Now, the other big thing about Amtrak is they're really generous. They're really generous as far as their baggage allowance. You're allowed up to 50 pounds of baggage. So if you see, this is my bag, and my bag is an expandable carry-on. I try to pack as much as I can in a carry-on wherever I go, just kind of a standard that I use. But as you can see, like, there's so much more space. Now, mind you, this was the Sunday right before Mardi Gras. So a lot of people who were getting on these trains were going to Mardi Gras. So there still was enough room for a lot of the people that got on the train after I did, for us to still have a lot of space for our bags. But yeah, that's kind of the seat. Like I said, there's a footrest right below it. That you can hit this button and you can put in the headrest. The seats, for the most part, are comfortable. Now, I will say that there is a time stamp to when they just get you'll want to move around. And like I said, this is the pull-out tray, and you can expand it if you pull it out more. And there's also a a basket here that you can put stuff like if you want to put a water bottle, if you want to put your phone or a book or anything else, you can put in that here as well. But yeah, that was pretty much the seat. So if you've never been on an Amtrak train, that's pretty much what it looks like. So we went along. I think around 4 hours later, we stopped in Birmingham. Now, most of the big stops that you'll get off of, and that they know that they're going to expect more people on, or if they have to make a shift change, they call them the smoke breaks. And that's a chance for people who are riding the train to get out and take a smoke break, or if they need to stretch their legs. So I made well use of this time. And especially because, like I said, like these train trips are long. So that was Birmingham, not really special. This is another notable station. This was Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And then like 5 hours later, we got into New Orleans. So I got into New Orleans. If you've never been to New Orleans, and especially for Mardi Gras, you should go. It's really fun. Shout out to everyone who just came into the live. Definitely feel free to comment with anything that you see or any questions you may have. But yeah, Mardi Gras was fun as usual. This was my second Mardi Gras. I had fun just running around and just being carefree, which is essentially what you're supposed to do at Mardi Gras. But that Wednesday, it was time to leave. So this is the Union Passenger Terminal in New Orleans, and this is essentially where you get onto. Now, this is kind of the big station in the South, because this takes trains not only from New Orleans to New York City, but also from New Orleans to LA, as well as New Orleans to Chicago. So it's really a huge hub for the South. Hey, Pam, what's going on? You said you've never been to New Orleans and want to visit. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The food, the culture, you're definitely going to have a good time, especially if you love the drink, if you love seafood, if you love learning about history. It's beautiful. But yeah. So this was the inside of the station. Now they've got kind of like a 60s Art Deco theme to their station. Now, what I intended to do was I intended to take their new service, which is called the Mardi Gras service. Now, if you don't know about the history of this service, and shout out to the Southern Rail Commission, they were the ones that were really responsible for bringing this service back up. So the Sunset Limited extended like east of New Orleans all the way over to Jacksonville, Florida. But because Katrina happened, a lot of those tracks were destroyed. So the Southern Rail Commission worked tirelessly for 10 years to try to convince the powers that be, as well as CSX, to revive service along this line, and they were successful, and it actually opened up last year, and they've been having record ridership on a lot of their trains. So much when I saw the presentation in DC back in January, some of the leaders from the Southern Rail Commission were saying that all of the trains were sold out all the way up to Mardi Gras. So that is essentially like what happens when you really put the right people in place to bring these services. So yeah, it was good. So they provide the service from New Orleans all the way along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, in Bay St. Louis, Gulfport, Biloxi, Pascagoula, and then all the way to Mobile, which is where Mardi Gras originally started. So I do want to do that one year and go to Mobile to Mardi Gras there, and then or like go to New Orleans, go to couple of the parades, and then take the train to Mobile and do Mardi Gras there. Like, you want all that experience? I do too. I want to do like the whole thing, but just like going to see different cities and how they do it. So the next line that I took was the Sunset Limited, which I said that, you know, it was a different service that goes between New Orleans and Los Angeles. So this is probably, I think, the longest, I want to say the longest train in America, the longest passenger train line in America. So the trains are pretty much similar to the ones that go down, except for the, like, if you go to the last video, you see that they're double decker. I know this video is really grainy, but you see the double decker. So there's some spots on the bottom and then there's spots on the top. So on the East Coast, you have just kind of one level trains, but here you have like double level. So we left out of there. So you can see the Caesars Superdome in the back. The Amtrak station in New Orleans is right next to the Superdome and right downtown. So you're right in the middle of everything. So that was a huge win with that. So here we are passing the Superdome again. I don't know why this video is not playing. Okay. Here's a really long bridge that we were on leaving New Orleans. Do they have beds on any of these trains? Yes, they have two types of rooms if you want privacy. They have a roomette, which is essentially a bunk bed. And there's also a private toilet that folds up so you can do your business in there, and you can also sleep in there. And if you book the roomettes, they actually give you like room service like you would on a plane. So they would come and make your bed for you. They would also provide you dinners. So just depending on what time you take the train, you could get dinner, you can get like a breakfast if possible, and you can get a lunch. I took one between Baltimore and my hometown back in South Georgia, and I got pretty much every single meal, and it was all right. I couldn't complain about it. So 9 hours later, I got into Houston. Now, Houston had to have been like the smallest station I'd ever seen, and this was saying a lot. And especially for a city that's about to take over the title of the third largest city in America over Chicago, this was a tiny station. But that's essentially what it was. And it was also kind of in a no man's land. It was right next to downtown, but it wasn't centrally located in the downtown, which, I mean, there's not really much to do in downtown Houston anyway. And that was kind of my big complaint about Houston. Like, I like Houston. I've been to Houston a couple of times, but the city is massively spread out. So I had a hotel right south of the Galleria, right across the street from Johnny Dang's setup. And it was still like way too far out for me to really do anything. But that was it. Now, like I said, and I'll go back, because my next destination, which was San Diego, wasn't necessarily on the same train line, nor was I going to get in a timely manner to where it worked out for me. I had to end up flying. And flying to Albuquerque, which I didn't have a lot of time here. So if there's anybody from the Transit Equity Network from Albuquerque, I immensely apologize for not hitting anyone up. I wasn't even supposed to be in Albuquerque. That was kind of like a stopover, so I can get on the train from there and then continue on to my way. So I also didn't have a lot of time, but I was able to get out and see their free transit. Now, this is the Arterial Rapid Transit line that they have in Albuquerque. Now, it's essentially a bus that operates like a rail. And the good folks at Together for Brothers work to really keep that service and every other service for transit in Albuquerque free. So a huge shout out to all of them and the work that they've done. The system looked really nice. It was really easy to get around town, and and get the things that I needed, like especially from the airport as well as to the main train station, which is where. Oh, also it snowed. Like this was the coldest place on my trip. So, and it was windy. So, if you've ever wondered what the weather is like in February in New Mexico, they also have a winter. So, I got to the station. Now, this is where now you see they have like a station that is kind of akin to the architecture, kind of the Pueblo architecture of New Mexico. Um, Now, if you kind of zoom in on this, you could see that there's one service that leaves out of here. There's an eastbound train that goes to Chicago, and then there's a westbound train that goes to LA. So this is where the trip got hairy. The train showed up 3 hours late. So you can see this was the line once we got together. But I was able to see some really nice views of the desert. Now, here's also another point to these trains. So, this is also something that's not necessarily available on the East Coast, I don't think. These are the observation cars. So, essentially, these are cars that anyone who has any ticket, whether you have a coach seat, whether you have a roomette or a whole room, which I didn't speak about the rooms. The rooms like have actual beds like hotel rooms. But you can use these cars to go and see the scenery that you can pass through. So I'll play a little bit more of it. So as you can see, like you've got little tables in the middle where you can put your drinks. And these are some of the tables. So these are kind of the couples tables. If you want to sit together with somebody. And then this is where you can put things. So if you want to put your coffee, if you wanted to put like a computer there, then this was a place that you could do so. So this was a really great addition to this trip. And it was a great value added if you wanted to see the scenery in a lot of these places. So it was good that this existed. And this was kind of the part of the trip that I was really looking forward to, was being able to see a lot of the scenery, but from a way that you can actually look at it and not just look at it from your seat. But just look how beautiful it looked. Now you can also get dinner on the train. They have a dining car. So this is a sample menu that they had. Now the dinner was $20. So you can kind of look at this menu and look at the menu items on here to see if it was really worth, or if you think it would be worth. So you see they have entries like entrees, like flat iron steak, chicken breast, salmon, pasta. They have children's entrees, and they even have alcohol. So it was. I didn't take dinner. I didn't take into dinner. I've eaten on Amtrak before, even though they've revamped a lot of their menu items. It wasn't enough for me. We stopped in this town. I forget the name of the town. It started with a B, but it was in Southern California. Now here's where this got hairy. So I got off at Fullerton. Now this is where I was supposed to transfer to another train, to then transfer to another train to go to San Diego. But again, the train got into Albuquerque late. So once we got off in Fullerton, I had to figure out another way because they were also doing track work in Southern California. So these were my options because we got in around a little right before 11. So of course we missed this train. So the next train wasn't until almost 1. So this is kind of where I scrambled to find transportation. I was like, oh, should I get a rental car? Should I try to Uber or Lyft my way into LA and then try to take a train. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Now eventually, I went to talk to the agent, and begrudgingly, I don't know why she had such an attitude. She got myself and others who were also trying to get to San Diego on one of the next trains. Um, so here was some of the views going along that way. You can see like these were beautiful just to see these mountains going through here. And here was some more views of it. Um, oh, also to another point about these not cafe cars, these observation cars, they also offered free snacks. So I got a lot of free snacks from there. Here's some more views of the observation cars. So this is Fullerton Station. So this is also a commuter rail station for commuters going into LA. And this is what they should have told us in Albuquerque, was that they were doing track work. They did not. So we had to find out once we got there. So that was kind of a snafu, a communication snafu on Amtrak's part that they should have told us. So we had to end up taking a bus once we got to Irvine to the rest of our trip. And you'll see there's more of these. But I was able to get on one of the trains going to Irvine. So you see, this is a much different train. This is more of a commuter train. So it's kind of geared towards commuters. But you still kind of have all the standard things for an Amtrak train, like you have like tray tables that fold down. These didn't dip. I think these were footrests. But you kind of can see these trains look like they were really old. And then these are the station. So once we were able to get on that train, that was good. But then they put us on buses. So wasn't necessarily like the train trip that we were expecting, but at least we were privy to views. So this was kind of the bus ride going down. And this is like when I-5 kind of hugs the coast, so you can see the shoreline. And it was beautiful. And then I got into Old Town. Now, San Diego has two Amtrak stations. The one I got a hotel near was called Old Town, and it's kind of at the edge of San Diego. So it was essentially for a way to get in and out of the city easily. But there's another one called Santa Fe Station, and that's the last stop on Amtrak before you start getting into Mexico. Of course, there was this notification that we didn't get before, no rail service. Don't know why we didn't get it. But I spent some time in San Diego. San Diego is a beautiful city. If you've never been, beautiful city. I highly recommend it. So I hung out there. I found a swap meet near my hotel I'd spent hours walking through. Hung around the gas lamp corridor. And then Monday morning, I got on a train. Heading north. Now the views that morning were so beautiful. Now this is the part of the trip where it was just so serene. Now, mind you, this is a commuter train. This was the coast, the Pacific Surfliner. So this goes between San Diego and Los Angeles. And like I said, like this was Monday morning, so this was a lot of commuters going to LA. But the fact that they're privy to a lot of these beautiful views of the ocean, and mind you, the tracks were right next to the ocean, so you're right there. And this is how beautiful it was. It was breathtaking. So I think around a little under 2 hours, we got into Los Angeles Union Station. And this is one of the biggest train stations in the country. And you could see why when this video starts to play. They had so many gates going to all these different trains because it's kind of the center of the MetroLink commuter rail service that goes in and out of Metro LA. You see how busy this place was. And then this was kind of the spot where it opens up to go towards kind of the local system within LA. So you can get on the subway there, you get on the light rail, and you get on like buses that go throughout the region. Now, I wanted to go check out something that I've not checked out ever since I became an Amtrak rider, and that's the Metropolitan Lounge. So I kind of compare it to the Sky Miles Lounge or any kind of like airport lounges. It's a place where you can go and chill in outside of the general public. And I had two passes, so I went in. So yeah, you got seating, although it was a little cramped in here. They give you free snacks, and you can take as much as you want. You also can get free drinks. They had TV that you could watch TV. You could refill your water. And I guess the name of the game with these lounges was privacy. They also had like separate bedrooms, like they had tables and reclining chairs where you could just sit. And that was it. Oh, and also with this one, like you had a chauffeur to take you to the tracks, and I think that was really special. I think that was a really special touch. But it was time to get on the next train. So I broke this trip up just because there was no train that went straight on to San Jose, which my next destination was San Francisco. But I had beautiful views once again of the scenery of California. It kind of puts it into perspective of how big California is and how expansive it is. And we went in so many curves in this whole trip that it was wild. So then we got into San Jose, and that's when I really had to rush to catch this train because the train came hourly. I got in around 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. and the train came hourly. So if I missed this train, I was going to be stuck there. But the trains were beautiful. Now, if you haven't heard about Caltrain, these are some regional rail trains that they have between San Francisco and San Jose. And they've really upgraded their service. Also with including like switching it all to 100% electric, which allows it to run faster. And the trains look beautiful. They were so spacious. They were clean. You had plenty of room. It went fast. It hit almost every town on the peninsula right before I got into San Francisco. So these were nice. So spent the night in San Francisco. That's what some of the cable cars that were there. And hung out with my friend there. And then I got to Emeryville. So this is their station. Emeryville is right north of Oakland. So, and this would be my last segment of the trip of going to Portland, Oregon. So this is the outside of the transit center. So essentially, if you want to go to San Francisco, because San Francisco doesn't have Amtrak service, you would have to either get off here or there's a station in Oakland called Jack London Square, or you could go down to San Jose if you're coming from the north, like I did, and take Caltrain up. But you essentially have to take another service to get to San Francisco. Going through this part, I think we were going through rural Oregon. So we started to go through some of the mountains. This was a point to where we lost cell signal, and that's a point that I would recommend to you, is make sure you have some things downloaded on your devices so that you're not caught off guard with this. But some of the scenery was beautiful. This was the smoke break we had in Eugene. Now I've been to Eugene before. It's a fun college town. I wish I had time to go there and hang out again. Here's more of the station. And this was the last.
All you need to do for train 28, just head inside, wait for boarding announcements. Just wait inside Union Station and wait for boarding announcements for train 28, the Empire Building. Alright, so if you're looking for some fresh air, this is your last chance to get some fresh air before we get to Seattle tonight. There are some rules for Portland to make it a little different than other fresh air stops. Rule number 1, no smoking on the platform. We need.
Yeah, and this was the last stop I had in Portland, Oregon. So the trains continue up to Seattle, and then they also continue up to Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada. So you are able to go into Canada with this trip, and it's possible. I didn't do it just because I was already over it. Something happened in California, which I'm still mad at Amtrak for. So I was, and I'd already spent a week away from home, so I was ready to go at that point. But nonetheless, like, it was good to see the station. Like, the station was beautiful. Like, marble everywhere, and seating areas were nice. This is the Empire Builder. So these are the trains that go between Portland and Seattle that go all the way to Chicago. So this is some of the trains that go between Idaho, Montana, I think either North Dakota, and Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then to Chicago. So that's also like another long distance train that a lot of people take when they really want to see like the views of the Rockies and the middle part of America. The Coast Starlight was the one I took, so it goes between LA and Seattle. The California Zephyr is the one that also goes between the Bay Area to Chicago. You can see they have this old board here. And then these were kind of some of the services that they have through here. Now you can take these services that they have at some Amtrak stations called Thruway Bus. Essentially, where they can't do train service, they'll do bus service. So, like, for instance, there was another place I wanted to go to that I vacationed in called Bend, and it was kind of in the where the foothills of the mountains meet the desert. They're not on the train line, but I really wanted to go there, but the timing just didn't work out. So that was another consideration that I really wanted to do, but we just weren't able to. This is what I'm talking about. This is where Bend was. So you had to connect into these different services. And this is kind of where it does get to the point to where a lot of these train stations are really important because they do connect you to a lot of places where train service or where airports just don't exist, or where it just would be difficult for people to get to. So, but this was the outside of the station, so it was really good and it was really nice. And I got to hang out with some friends in Portland before I was able to fly back to Baltimore. But this was the station from the front of it. Oh, also, I checked my bag at one of these stations. In Emeryville, I checked the bag. Checking bags here are free. That's another point of Amtrak. You can check a bag for free at places where you can check bags. It's not available everywhere, but for those that are available, if you do have multiple bags, you can check them. So like if you're bringing more than 50 pounds, you can check half of that if you're going to places where you can retrieve checked baggage. So I checked bags here because I wanted to see what was supposed to be a cannabis cafe in Emeryville that did not exist anymore. But but at least I was without a lot of my luggage that I didn't have to worry about. But anytime I go to Portland, I make a pilgrimage to this bridge, and it's the only bridge that restricts car travel. So the only things that can get across this bridge are pedestrians, bikes, and of course, transit vehicles. So this is a light rail vehicle that goes across. There are also buses that go across the bridge as well. But I was just hanging out there and just catching into the views and looking at all that clogged traffic over there. And this was the station at the end of it. And this was one of the streetcars that also run across the bridge. But yeah, that was it. So kind of the lessons learned with this, and if you're ever thinking about doing this and getting the rail pass and going across country, the ride is all right, and especially if you've never been on these trains before, but it's not the most time efficient. You're going to spend a lot of time on these trains, and that's something you really got to take into consideration. Another big point of this is you've got to be prepared to pivot your plans. You may make plans, but they may change based on disruptions, based on if the train shows up on time or not, based on if the train doesn't show up at all, if there's weather disruptions, or what have you. So really be prepared to pivot. Related to that, please check the schedules. Do not assume that your train is going to leave at a certain time because, like I said, Amtrak's not the best at giving information out to folks when they really need it. So really check the schedules and kind of be your own travel agent at that point. Also, get paper tickets if possible. So I had my tickets on my Amtrak app, but during the trip, I found that those tickets disappear. And sometimes these conductors will ask to scan your tickets again. I know that's definitely the case when you go before and after DC, that they ask you to scan your tickets. So make sure on this journey, if you can get paper tickets, to do so, because you don't want to be caught in those situations to where they're hassling you for something that just doesn't exist anymore. Also, with respect to your lodging accommodations, make sure that those are also flexible, because you don't want to be late getting into this place and then they give away your room because you didn't show up on time to check in. So, or like if you miss a stop, which one point, like I said, check the schedules, because some of these trains only leave maybe once a day. Some only arrive 3 times a week. Like that line that goes between New Orleans and LA, they only run those trains 3 times a week. So I lucked out with getting the one right after Mardi Gras, but that won't always happen. So definitely check the schedules and make sure that you're looking at how often these trains run, because it's not going to be like the Pacific Surfliner where they run every 30 minutes or every hour. Check these schedules. Also pack snacks for the trip. And that's because, I wasn't a huge fan of the food on board. So definitely pack snacks. And you can bring like cooked food on there. That's fine. You can bring cooked food or whatever you want. That's fine. Also, like I mentioned before, download your entertainment before the departure, because there is Wi-Fi on these trains, but it sucks. So please utilize that before you go on this journey, because you don't want to be caught somewhere where you don't have internet to stream something or to load something up, and then you're wondering, oh, what do I do now? Or if you need to call your ride, like if you've arranged like transportation and they can't get in touch with you. So make sure you have that on hand. But yeah, that's it. So questions, comments to anyone in the chat? I can answer any questions or comments. And if not, we can close. Well, I can preview coming attractions. So, in a couple of days, I'll be leaving on another train trip, but this time I'm going to Europe. So, I did the American train trip, but now I want to do the comparison to what everyone has been talking to me about, and they said, "Oh, if you enjoyed that, you will not be able to wait to go interrailing around Europe." So, um, that is the next trip. So, yeah, I'm going on a train trip around Europe. So I'm flying out on Friday to London, and I'll be taking the train from London to Amsterdam with a pit stop, a lunch stop in Brussels. Then I'll be taking the train to Berlin. Then I'll take the train to Copenhagen. I might even take the train to Sweden because I think they said that the train trip between Copenhagen and Sweden was 30 minutes. So, but yeah, it'll be fun, and it'll be exciting to again, as something else I really wanted to do, and especially because I'm a really big advocate of high-speed trains, and I know that they have a lot of high-speed trains over in Europe. So I can't wait to ride those and really see how it works with going between not even just different states, but different countries. So that's all I've been doing this week is just kind of preparing for that. Just kind of finalizing everything, but also getting this together. So I'll go and put in a video follow-up because I do want to do something for National Train Day, which is I think the first week of May, and kind of compare both of them, the train travel in America and train travel in Europe. And just kind of tell my experiences from Europe. But I'm really excited about it, and I think this is going to be something really compelling to a lot of lawmakers here in America, and our partners within the Transit Equity Network to really send a compelling message to lawmakers to really start investing in inner city rail more. Thank you so much. I can't wait to go. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, any questions before I close out? If not, definitely follow us on all of our social media networks, Facebook at Transit Equity Network, Twitter and Blue Sky at Transit Equity In, and definitely subscribe to the channel to see more content like this, as well as more discussions that we have with a lot of our partners, a lot of our organizers from around the country, as well as with just inquisitive videos like this, wondering how you can go and see this amazing world. But yeah, I thank you all so much for joining. Definitely share this live with somebody that you know. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, so that we can grow this channel. Also, I now have a Cash App. So if you'd like to support the work that we do over here at the Transit Equity Network, definitely hit the Cash App. That's $ Transit Equity. I should have said that in the beginning. But yeah, definitely donate if you'd like to. We really do want to expand so that we can share this with the work that we do with our partners, and we can lift them up as well as with just increasing the quality of these lives, as well as the content that we're going to be putting within the Transit Equity Network. So, but if nothing else, thank you so much for joining. I'll continue to bring more content like this. But other than that, definitely email me at transitequitynetwork@gmail.com for any questions, inquiries, or if you'd like any advocacy work, to show up, to speak, conferences, anything, book me at transitequitynetwork@gmail.com and we will get on it. But I'll bid you all adieu. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I will see you all later. Have a good one.
day, millions of Americans rely on public transportation to get to work, to school, and to essential services. But for too many, access to reliable and affordable public transportation is a luxury, not a necessity.
It's pretty
These are the voices of communities across America, united by a common goal: transit equity. We envision a nation where everyone, regardless of their income, race, or disability, has access to safe, reliable, and affordable public transportation. Together, we can build a national network that connects our communities, strengthens our economy, and creates a more just and equitable future for all. We are the Transit Equity Network.